G'day, hi and welcome. First off, there's nothing sketch about this operation whatsoever. Okay, so I got the tire off. Finally. That tire looks really good. 10-ply tire, that. Toyo Open Country CT winter tires. 10-ply. Very nice, very nice. Nothing sketch about this area at all, uneven ground. So I got one side off, and nothing sketch about that. Nothing sketch about that at all. Not too bad. But I got good news and bad news. And this is why you got to take things apart and bang them with a hammer once in a while. Oh, this nice emergency cable, brake cable. I'm gonna have to replace that. That one's gonna be fun. That one's gonna be a real hoot to take to replace. I know it is. Why? Because that's the way it rolls. But here's the deal. My brake pad's got about a quarter on there. So I think I already know. Wow, these rotors are toast. I probably put fresh brake pads on there anyway. But judging by this caliper, I think I know what's happening. It's the same thing that happened to my other truck. Is the pivot studs, look at them, they're all the way in. They're pretty much all the way in. The dust. This is a recipe for a ball and peen hammer right here. And okay, no, the other one's metal on metal. That one is definitely metal on metal. This rotor's pretty toasted too. But, yeah, well. So I got to get that off. But, yeah, what happens is it compresses the brakes. And then it can't retract. The caliper can't float back to a, like a loose, what they call retarded position. And what ends up happening is the brakes stay basically anchored. They heat up, which destroys the rotor, overheats the rotor. You can see, yeah, this rotor is really, really bad. Thought I'd be able to get away with just pad slapping it, but I don't know. I don't think those pads would hold up very long on that rotor. But if I get a winter out of it, I'd be okay with that. But I don't know. I don't think so. And this is Dodge, so that means the sledgehammer's coming out to pound this thing off. I'm going to take it right off. And I don't want to put that kind of money into it yet. The pads I'm willing to do. But if I can't get these calipers to slide, I have to put the calipers on too. And I don't want to put good calipers and pads on a bad rotor. So I'd probably have to do the whole thing. And then I got to get my emergency brake done. But I got to check out I got to take this off anyway because I got to check out the hubs. So I'll see if I can get those off. But it gives me an idea of what I'm looking at anyway. So I think it's just this thing is jammed a bit, or it's like not fully retracting. So this pad looks like it's still got some on it, but you can see it's tight to the rotor. So yeah, these are toast. They're toast. I'll probably break it taking it off. We'll see. See how much bashing I have to do on this. One thing I like about the Ford, I don't know on the back on the Ford if it's like this, but on the Dodge, it's always a two-piece, the rotor, and then there's the hubs on the inside. And in this case, because there's the emergency brakes on the inside, yeah. So that's what I'm looking at. So that's pretty rough. So it's basically the worst case scenario. I could make it live probably a little bit with the pads. The pads are cheap enough, but if I can't get the rotor to slide, then I really, if I'm going to change the rotor, or if I'm going to change, sorry, not the rotor, but the caliper, if I can't get the caliper to slide, then there's no point in just pad slapping it. I might as well, if you're going to do it right. But yeah, the inner one don't look so healthy. And it looks like, yeah, so the piston is basically just kind of stuck pressuring that metal on metal there, so. But I don't know, I'll get it apart. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. Sometimes when you clean things up and get them working, like this doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That rust doesn't matter there. Doesn't matter there, it doesn't matter there. All that matters is that the piston functions and these sliders functions, and this does its job holding things on. Mind you, also what happens, see, when you don't maintain things, see this gets all rough, which stops things from sliding smoothly. But if I can get that to slide smoothly, or smooth enough, then I should be fine. But I think it's probably just best to replace the whole thing. Just the cost of it. And again, this thing hasn't made my money yet, so made me my money yet. So, anywho, I mean, it's one of those things that's you know, that's a part of owning a truck. You know, like that's a part of owning a truck or a vehicle in general is you're going to have to put parts in it at some point, but it's just long as the parts. Look at the gas tank on that thing. That thing's massive. That is the hugest gas tank ever. That thing's going to cost $1 gazillion to fill. Ouch. I don't have $1 gazillion, and I don't even have brakes. Back brakes. Front brakes fine. That one was all done, but redone on this side. So yeah, you got to maintain your brakes at least once a year. See, this is what I mean. People buy a vehicle and they just drive it. Brand new brakes and rotors maintained just once a year will probably last you 10 years if you're not hard on the braking. Like stop go type stuff. Even at that, you can't let things jam up. And that's the problem. People just don't want to work on stuff, right? So, but the more you work on it, usually, like the first time you take everything apart, it takes you like forever because everything's seized up because it hasn't been worked on in such a long time. But once you get everything apart and you clean it up, sometimes you can put things back together and still get them working. Like, I mean, if I could make this rig just work just enough to get me through the winter, that'd be awesome. And then all it would be labor. And then I'll have to do something about this. This I have no choice but to replace. That's going to be a real pain in the ass. I can just see it now because that tab's going to break off the second I do that. But I'm going to get in here with my brush, oil brush, and again, the crossers don't look as bad. The box is rusty, don't get me wrong. This thing is a rust bucket, don't get me wrong. But it only has to last maybe a year, or a season or two. It's my stopgap truck. For now, but if I can keep it as the winter beater for the next 4 or 5 years, I'd be really happy with that. So yeah, but yeah, I'll see what I can do with this. I'll see if I can actually resurrect it. It always looks worse than what it is. Sometimes it just is what it is, but I mean, yeah, the rotor, like it's shot. This stuff's shot. Doesn't mean you can't make it function again, though. Again, if it can last 4 months, 5 months, yeah, sure, I'll pad slap it, and and I'll be metal on metal by spring, but for $40 for 2 sets of a set of brakes, back brakes, it's the price I'm willing to pay because I'm looking at a lot of money to do the rotors, the calipers, and all that stuff. Better, once it's done for, like I say, and if you maintain it, it'll be good for a good while. But it's a lot of work, and it's more the money than the work. And like I say, it's a gamble to put a lot of parts on something that you don't know. I'm pretty sure this truck's going to hold up for another couple of months, or a year at least. Runs fine. It's at that stage, right? So, but you also have to know when do you say when. So, my budget for this one, when I hit $4,000, it's a parked vehicle at that point. But hopefully by that point I have a whole bunch of other vehicles to pick from to drive. But I think, yeah, as bad as that looks, I've seen worse. I think I can actually get that working again for a little longer. I just know I can. Like I know it's done, but it doesn't mean it won't function. You know what I mean? So, if, replace it now or replace it in the spring, as long as I can make it work well enough between now and the spring, why not? But it all depends on this thing here. This I can live with, pad slapping it. Probably wouldn't, again, the truck's been sitting for a couple of months now. So, all this got to be kind of cleaned up. I'll work my magic with the wire brush, and I'll get this off. I'll work my magic with the wire brush, and we'll see what happens. But that's part of your problem right there, is the that's the main one. All right, there we go. We'll see what I can get done.